Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! So, back in March last year, I had tried settling for my ex for $100 above guideline, what state law recommends based on incomes and how often each parent has a children. Early last year, after we signed a stipulation agreement where I had 35% custody timeshare, I offered more because we make similar salaries. She makes slightly more. I felt bad because the amount wasn't that high. Long story, but prior to this, she was withholding kids from me to try and set the precedent that I was on every other weekend dad. That also did not go well for her. But she got greedy and thought negotiations were taking too long and that she could get more. So she ghosted me and filed with child support, DCSS, with an old address for me. DCSS tried super hard to push through a very high CS amount based on 0% custody and 0 income for her. Luckily, I had mail forwarding set up and put my phone number into the DCSS website. DCSS called me and I was able to file an answer within the allotted time and stop them from defaulting me. It then took 8 months to get a hearing, the entire time my ex could have been getting paid if she had settled. During this period, she lost some custody due to things unrelated to her child support, so timeshare changed to 50-50. In her filings and at the hearing, she lied about the timeshare trying to use a very old order that was only in place for about 2 months to claim I only had 22% timeshare to get back pay. During back pay period, I actually had the kids 45% of the time. I made sure to meticulously file all the relevant court orders, prove that I was exercising time with the kids, and a custody calendar I had kept. The outcome of all this was after almost a year, the judge ordered 0 back pay and 0 CS going forward. I am so relieved. My ex still refuses to pay half any of the reimbursed medical fees, but whatever. I pay them just as I provide school supplies, extracurricular payments, and purchase their clothes. So don't worry about her not being able to provide for the kids. She just bought our older son some $200 Jordans and the $100 lizard to replace the one she killed. So I went to visit my mom yesterday and she told me this story. My brother, 9 male, likes to play with other boys on the block. They usually play soccer or bike races outside and Fortnite or FIFA 22 online. All this during the afternoon/evenings after they are done with homework. They can be pretty loud, but they are ages 8 to 12. The neighborhood my mom lives in has something similar to an HOA. They have a representative and they have to pay fees, mostly for security and surveillance, even though it's very safe. And the rep is friends with my grandma, who also lives there. So on Thursday, the rep calls my mom to tell her that someone complained that the kids were being too loud and it was too late for them to be alone outside. Mind you, it was like 7:30 p.m. They don't have school the next day. The street is pretty illuminated and has cameras basically on every light post. Also, the neighborhood is pretty much gated all around. My mom calmly told the rep to ask the person complaining to call her directly because she was actually outside speaking with the other kids' parents as they were watching them, and this is a family-friendly neighborhood. Rep started getting defensive and said that she didn't want to cause conflicts and make up excuses, and that was that. Later on, Rep was chit-chatting with my grandma and said her nephew, who lives a few houses from my mom's, was having trouble with work because there is too much noise outside. So mom knew that he was the one complaining. Thing is, he's basically fresh out of college, which means that he hosts parties from Thursday to Saturday or just blasts his stereo while drinking alone until 4 or 5 in the morning while he passes out drunk. Kinda hypocritical if you ask me. He'll my mom asking the boys to play right in front of his house and yell as loud as they can. My brother's curfew is 8 p.m. so he can get a good night's sleep, but my mom and the other parents extended it to 10 p.m. because they didn't have school the next day anyway. The dude never complained again, but my mom did report him every time his speaker was on after midnight. He eventually stopped except for a party here and there, and all was well. The end. Edit. The problem is in the complaint itself. It was that the same dude who plays loud music 3 nights a week till 5 a.m., thus disturbing all the neighbors and their sleep schedules, and goes unpunished because he has family in the HOA, has a gal to ask for others to quiet down when others have asked him the exact same. And he responds by being louder. I get that kids can get very rowdy and I know my brother is, but when asked to be more quiet, he does accommodate, and so does his friends. I guess if a 9-year-old can be quiet when asked to be, a grown adult can as well. The problem is in the kid's parents. Edit 2. I understand that my mom was petty as hell for how she reacted, but this sub is indeed called Pity Revenge. This happened in the UK about 12 years ago when I worked as a customer assistant in a large well-known retail store. It is nothing big, but at the time I thought, okay, if that's how it is, then that's how I'll play it too. I've been working for the company for 3 years and had not taken a single day off for sickness since I'd started working there. If I was feeling a little under the weather, I'd just go in and work through it while taking any medication, if required. And here is where it takes place. I've been playing football with friends on a weekend when I got tackled and felt a shooting pain in my knee. I went to the hospital and got an x-ray, but nothing of concern was visible as there were no broken bones. I received painkillers and was referred for an MRI as I was still in pain. MRI results showed that I've got a partial tear in the ACL and would need time to recover. Initially, I'd notified my manager that I've been injured and would not be coming to work. After a week of absence, I provided a doctor's note, as required, which signed me off from work for 3 more weeks. A month after the injury took place, I was able to hobble around and was going stir crazy at home. My colleagues were keeping me updated on what was happening at work. I was aware that my manager was getting heat from senior managers for a member of the team having an extended absence, so I decided to go back to work. First day back, I was informed that there will be a meeting for my absence. I attend the meeting with a union rep and go over the absence and the reason for it. I explained everything that happened, but it seemed like my manager was not actually listening. She was just giving me a chance to have my say, but she already knew the decision she was making. The manager then takes some time out to make an informed decision on the outcome of this meeting. She comes back and tells me that because I have reached the trigger point for absences, she will have to give me a written warning. That simple. I felt betrayed and appalled at how I was being treated after all I put into this company. I also found out that the union rep I had reached to support me was intentionally being unhelpful because she was friends with my manager. Cue malicious compliance. I had 7 days to make an appeal against the decision, so I started looking into the company's attendance policy. The first thing I noticed was that the trigger point is to trigger a meeting to review absences and not to hand out written warnings like the manager had stated in the meeting. I also realized that employees cannot receive a formal warning for their first absence. It must be an informal verbal warning first because the manager has to personally tell you about the attendance policy at that initial meeting and keep a record of it in order to escalate. Then I went through the rest of the policy and found a loophole, which meant I could take 3 days off sick every 3 months without triggering any attendance meeting. I made my appeal and the initial decision was overturned, so no written warning on record. Then every 3 months I would take 3 sick days off. This ended up giving me 12 extra holiday days per year. The result? They could have just let me have that 1 month's absence and return to work as normal, but instead, I'm absent for 12 extra days a year because the company doesn't care about employees. So, 2 weeks ago I was admitted to the ER after having a stroke and finally discharged last Friday, only for my clumsy weeble-wobble butt to trip on a rug in the lobby on my way out after being discharged, falling directly on my face and banging up my knee pretty good. What luck, am I right? So now I'm back to using a walker since my leg is still hurting and I can't fully straighten it. Next day my dad and I headed to Walmart because he needed to get something for his car and I was looking for some multivitamins and nutritional shakes or whatever. We gather up what we need and head to the checkout line. We didn't have much, literally carrying things in our hands. Well, he was. I had my stuff in my walker but it still wasn't much, 5 of our things in total combined. Surprisingly, the checkout line we were at wasn't full, as one would normally expect, and we were only third in line before we were next. There is a few closed, and the furthest ones away didn't have many people either, and the self-checkout lanes were basically empty. There was another cashier next to our lane, but it was closed as she was about to go on a break. That's when Old Fart comes in. Old Fart comes around with his cart full of whatever and makes his way to the now closed cashier, to which she explains that she was backing up her last customer and the lane was closed. Old Fart grumbles and mumbles about the lines being too long, but they weren't though, and after looking around to see the other lanes, gets behind me instead. Now the cashier at our lane was busy making small talk with her co-worker, not really paying attention to the customer waiting for the transaction to finish. As they had swiped their card to pay, Old Fart pipes up that he hopes they are having a nice conversation, but not loud enough for the cashier to hear him. But no one really pays attention to him. He sighs loudly, then proceeds to step next to me and asks, "Hey, you mind letting me go ahead? I'm in a bit of a rush." Again, he has a full cart, whereas my dad and I only have 5 or so things. I respond, "Sorry, but so are we. And we don't have a lot of stuff. We won't be long." Old Fart decides this isn't an acceptable answer and mumbles a curse as he steps back behind me. Cashier finally finishes with the customer up front. One more to go, and now my dad and I are second in line. As we slowly inch forward, the Old Fart pushes his cart forward and hits the back of my leg, shouting, "Move! Hurry up!" As if it's somehow my fault it's taken too long. As mentioned before, I had fallen and was still pretty hurt, so I let out a yelp. And my dad instantly spun around in a panic, as did the cashier and customer in front of us. I turn and glare at the Old Fart, and his face is turning a shade of red with an angry scowl. Dad yells out, "Hey, the hell is your problem, man? What the hell? People notice what's going on and put 2 and 2 together." Cashier says, "Sir, if you can calm down and wait and cause a disturbance, I'll call security and have you escorted out." The Old Fart turns and shoves his cart to the side and steps out of line. "You all take too long anyway." And he walks away instead, thinking that he's won. Only for us to see him come back for his cart and get in a different and longer line as we were leaving the store. What a ride. Sheesh. In memory of my late mother, she went peacefully and lived an amazing life. I'll retell one of my favorite stories from when she was a nurse. Back in the 80s, she worked extra shifts in TIPS, Trauma Intervention Program Services. Professional nurses acted as grief counselors and rode around with ambulances and arrived on site where the living experienced a traumatic event. One evening, she got a call to a hotel where the parents experienced the rather violent reaction of their 8-year-old child. I don't have any details, sorry. My mom was on site comforting the mother while the EMTs were suffering the loss of losing the child just as they got there. The lead, Bruce, was 6'2", 230 pounds, thick 80s Magnum PI mustache and a stern look that could make a hardened cops look away. When he wasn't decked out in gear and looking menacing, he was a teddy bear according to my mom. The ambulance had parked outside the main entrance at an angle, half on a sidewalk with its rear butting into the 2-lane valet area. As I understood it, it was to avoid inconveniencing guests while still maintaining emergency access. The events of the evening were particularly traumatic, so everyone working for the hotel, as well as guests in the know, were somber. The EMT Bruce was escorting the coroner up, and my mom was downstairs counseling the grief-stricken parents. An entitled jerk comes pulling up and decides to park directly behind the angled ambulance. According to my mom, literally inches of space between his Jaguar and the back of the emergency vehicle. My mother gets up to tell the entitled jerk to move his vehicle, as wasn't in the valet area. He instantly curses her out and proceeds to head inside to the bar to meet his intended party. The one remaining valet is trying desperately to get the guy's keys to move his vehicle, and the entitled jerk stops to curse both him and my mom out for daring to speak to him. Off inside he goes, and the valet heads inside to report this as my mother goes back to consoling the now further shaken parents. With the details of the coroner taken care of, both Bruce and his partner finish packing up the vehicle and are visibly pissed at Jaguar blocking the ambulance. The entrance to the hotel explodes into commotion as security, the GM of the hotel, the valet guy are escorting the entitled jerk out of the hotel. There is a lot of shouting and everyone is staring at what's going on. The entitled jerk is shoving his way against the security trying to get back inside, all while shouting he cannot be treated this way. He is so-and-so of blah blah corporation and he will not be manhandled. Side note, Owen Wilson's character from Night at the Museum always made her laugh so hard because of this manhandle comment. The entitled prick had apparently been told the reason for the accident or pieced two and two together was a coroner's vehicle and made some comment like, "Well, this is no longer an emergency now, is it? Nobody's hurt." Completely unaware the parents of the child were across a valet station. Bruce hears this and drops his clipboard loudly. He marches up the stairs of the hotel right up to the entitled prick, turns him around and decks him fully in the face in front of everyone. The entitled prick stumbles back and falls to the ground. Bruce marches up and leans over Ali style and says, "Now someone is hurt." Some other words were said my mom couldn't recall, but he answered the guy on the ground. "Go call for emergency services because I ain't gonna help you. Now move your car," and storms off down the stairs. As he is passing, he pauses with the scariest face she has ever seen on him. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.